Hello, guys. My name is Martin, and today I will be going over my PFL draft. Um, PFL is a Pokemon League, Pokemon Draft League, and um, yeah, um, not really good at explaining stuff, but let's get right to it. So for my first pick, I picked up Kyurem Black. Kyurem Black is a very powerful Pokemon. It has 170 attack and 120 special attack. So it hits very hard on both sides. Um, and it has its decent speed stat at 95. Um, this mon is very scary to go up against. And the reason I picked it up um, was for that reason, but also because it did get a new move, which was Scale Shot. I got this move through the new DLC for um, the Isle of Armor, and this move specifically hits the opponent 2 to 5 times, and once your last uh, hit goes off, it'll lower your defense by 1 stage and raise your speed by another, which is very helpful because although it does get Dragon Dance, I can't use it in this league because that move is banned. Um, so Skill Shot gives me a way of still raising my speed, even though it won't raise my attack as well. Um, the raising speed can be very helpful in order to potentially sweep teams or um, get a kill that I otherwise wouldn't get because the opponent might be faster than me. Um, but yeah, um, also a great thing about Kyurem Black this generation and Generation 8 is that it has, for once, access finally to a physical ice type move other than Free Shock. Um, Free Shock was a 2 turn based move, and although it did hit hard, that charge up turn allowed your opponent to um, most likely take you out before you even got a chance to get it off. So having the access to Icicle Spear, um, although it is a weak physical ice type move, it's still an ice type move, and that's physical, and that low base 25 power for it can be pretty much canceled out by that 170 base attack that it has. So yeah, this Pokemon right here is gonna be hitting extremely hard, and um, for occasions where you're not running Scale Shot for that to get that speed boost, you could be running Choice Scarf on it. Allows you to speed some mons that you wouldn't otherwise get, and um, also something that could come in handy that I might consider if I really need to is running heavy duty boots, which will protect me from that 25% damage that I would get coming into rocks because of my ice typing. Mm, okay, so now we'll be moving on to my next mon that I got, and that mon is Grimmsnarl. Grimmsnarl is an amazing Pokemon, in my opinion. It has access to Prankster, access to Frisk, access to Pickpocket. All three of these abilities are very great abilities, and the main reason I picked it up, a lot of people in the draft were surprised by it. A few people outside of the draft that I had shown my team to were surprised that I picked it up. Um, but main reason I picked it up was because of its access to screens. The access to screens and its ability to also get very quick bulk ups because of that prankster. These screens are very helpful when paired up with Kirim. I think it's very helpful because um, anytime that I decide to use Scale Shot, I'm dropping my defenses, and if I'm able to get if I'm able to get a reflect up, then that pretty much counteracts that -1 that I would get from the Scale Shot, and I find that very helpful to be paired up with Kirim. Although Grimstone is weak to Fairy itself because of its Dark Fairy typing, and Kirim is weak to Fairy because it's a Dragon type. That pairing obviously might not sound the best, but I still find it the upside more 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 better than the downside, and yeah, it has an arsenal of coverage from T-Wave to Trick to Superpower, Stomping Tantrum, Power Whip, Fire Punch for those pesky steel types, and a great move that it just got from the Idol of Armor was this move right here, Burning Jealousy. So yeah, the great thing that I like about Grimstone as well is that it can be run as either a physical or a special attacker. Preferably, I'd run it as a physical, but considering its special attack is base 95, it's still respectable and can come in handy as a special attacker. And the fact that its special attack is very, very respectable, it could find a lot of use in this new move. This new move is Burning Jealousy, which 100% burns a target that had stat raised this turn. So let's say I bring out my Grimmsnarl, and in that same turn when I'm about to click a move, click Burning Jealousy, and my opponent clicks Sword Stance. If they click Sword Stance and I hit them with the Burning Jealousy, then it automatically burns them, negating their +2 in attack that they would get from Sword Stance. So yeah, that's a really great move for that it got, and can't wait to use it. Another great move it got was Lash Out. So Lash Out, it doubles in power if its stats were lowered in that same turn. So although it's not as great in my opinion as Burning Jealousy, it could come in handy if an opponent comes out and intimidates me, or they use a move that has a secondary effect that lowers one of my stats. For example, like Moonblast, that has a secondary effect of lowering my special attack, and this will allow me to hit them for double damage with Lash Out. Okay, now moving on to the next one. So the next one that I got was Indeedee Male. I chose Indeedee Male because it's honestly the better counterpart of the two. Indeedee Male has a bit more special attack and a bit more speed than the female one. The female one's a bit more bulkier, but I felt like, for my purposes, Indeedee Male was better. Although it's not as bulky, the +10 speed that it has over the female, I found it a lot more better because, as you'll see later on, you'll find out that my team is not exactly the fastest team out there, but I have pretty respectable speed ranges on my mons. Oh, sorry about that. Um, so yeah, I picked this mon up because of its ability. Its ability, the main one that I will probably be using is this one, Psychic Surge. Psychic Surge is great because it sets up a terrain, a psychic terrain onto the field, and in psychic terrain, any move that has priority um, is unable to function at all. So if my opponent brings out, let's say, Bishop, for example, and they decide to go for a sucker punch on me, that sucker punch will be automatically negated because of the psychic terrain. So that's very helpful on a mon that's a psychic type. Um, so yeah, and then um, another great reason that I got it was because of that effect, it will greatly protect my Curum from moves like Mach Punch that have priority or Bullet Punch that have priority. Um, so yeah, that's very helpful for my Curum as well. Um, so then, also, uh, another reason that I got this mon was because um, a move that I got from the Isle of Armor that I found very intriguing. I wanted to try out myself in Draft League, and I'd already tried this out on Showdown itself on the RU ladder before NDD got banned to UU, and that move is Expanding Force. Expanding Force is an amazing move that it got. NDD itself was already pretty okay in my opinion before this move, but with this move, I think NDD is a standout mon that a lot of people would want to try now because of it. And so yeah, Expanding Force, if used in Psychic Terrain, has a boost to its power of 1.5, which is basically like you slapping the choice specs on it. So you're already getting the power of a psychic type move boosted by choice specs without the choice specs, and on top of that, you're getting the power boost from being in psychic terrain. So in total, you're getting your stab boost from the psychic typing. You're getting the 1.5 boost of using it in psychic terrain, and on top of that, you're getting the boost that you get from psychic terrain itself. So this move's being powered up 3 times, really, instead of just once. And then if you were to add something like, let's say, Life Orb or Choice Specs on this mon, then this move's being boosted 4 times instead of 3. So yeah, it's a pretty powerful move, especially since it's base 80, which yeah, it's not base 90 or base 100, but base 80 does pretty good damage, especially since it's being boosted 3 to 4 times, depending on what if you have an item that boosts it or not. But yeah, there's some other moves that it got. I believe that's all it got from the Isle of Armor. Yeah, that's pretty. Oh, it did get Terrain Pulse, but may or may not bring this. Considering since in terrain it'll just turn into a psychic type move, and in that case, I'd honestly rather use Expanding Force. But it did get this move, which basically is the terrain version of Weather Ball, which basically just gets powered up to base 100 instead of base 50 in terrain. But yeah, this move's pretty helpful. This mon's pretty helpful for my team. It has pretty good coverage, especially Mystical Fire to hit those pesky steel types that otherwise would resist my psychic type moves. But um, and then Shadow Ball to hit those ghost types that it wouldn't be able to hit with my normal type moves. Yeah, and it gets Trick as well. Trick Room, which could come in handy considering my team, like I said earlier, is not the fastest team that out there. And yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to NDD. Um, so now I'll be moving on to the next mon, which is Vaporeon. Yeah, so Vaporeon. Sorry guys. Sorry my voice sounds a little raspy, but I'm just my voice is starting to go out. Have a little throat problem at the moment. My voice is starting to go out. Probably getting sick. Hopefully not. So yeah, Vaporeon. Vaporeon. Mostly picked it up because I needed a solid wish passer on my team. So yeah, Vaporeon's main job for me is gonna be like is a cleric role. Clerics are mons that have access to like wish, heal bell, healing wish, things like that. You know, like things that'll heal you or heal your team. And Vaporeon has that role itself and for me. So yeah, it has two abilities: water absorb, hydration. Most of the time, pretty much majority of the time I'll be running water absorb. But yeah, I got it for the wish passing set, which would be like wish, protect, heal bell, and scald um, for stab and get burns on people. But I also picked it up because of a new move it got. Let's see, let's take this off. So that new move is Flip Turn. So the great thing about Flip Turn is that so it's a new move from the ILO armor that Vaporeon happened to get, and it's basically you basically use the move, and then as soon as you use the move, your Pokemon goes back to your party, and you're able to switch it out for something else, and that's really helpful when it comes to Vaporeon because Vaporeon before had no real way of getting wishes off safely onto one of your other mons. You'd have to hard switch out to um, the other mon that in your party, and more than likely your other mon was taking a hit before it got that wish, that health from the wish. So yeah, flip turn is very helpful for avoiding that because considering the speed that Vaporeon has, you're most likely going to be going second most of the time. So having a slow flip turn is very helpful because you just get a wish off and then use flip turn, and so your opponent will hit you first and then you'll hit them with the flip turn. So once you flip turn out, your mon comes out and they get the wish health without any damage from your opponent because your opponent already went first before you. So yeah, that's pretty much why I got it really. Oh, and it's access to haze. Haze prevents someone from setting up on me, so that could come in handy. And some of my matches where a few opponents have some very scary setup mons. Another good one is Roar, for the same reason for setup mons. and toxic if I want to be um, want to stall people out with it. Um, it has access to yawn, put people to sleep if I want to. Um, yeah, that's pretty much all there is when it comes to Vaporeon. Typically, I'm gonna be running this as a bulky set. Um, doesn't really have access to like being an offensive mon, but um, but I mean, if I really wanted it to be an offensive mon, then I guess I could. But typically, this is gonna be one of my main walls on the team. You won't really see me playing this as like an offensive mon because it just isn't its role. Um, its main role is just to wish pass and flip turn out when needed, or to stall something out with toxic protect or things like that. So now, moving on to my next mon that I got, which was Blaziken. So Blaziken in this league, it's only allowed as Blaze. Um, it does have the other ability, Speed Boost, but it isn't allowed because of potential Sword Stance Speed Boost set, which is very broken. Um, well, it can be very broken, depending if it's able to get it off, which more likely than not, it's pretty easy for it to get it off. Um, so yeah, it's just broken with Speed Boost basically. So yeah, I have to run it with Blaze every time that I bring it. But I got it because for one, I wanted a fire type that um, wouldn't take massive amounts of damage from rocks, um, because fire types are weak to rock type moves. Whenever someone sets up stealth rocks, fire type will normally take 25% damage every time they come in on the stealth rocks. Um, so yeah, that's kind of annoying when it comes to fire types, in my opinion. And I easily could have got another fire type and um, ran heavy duty boots to avoid those rocks damage, um, but yeah, I wanted a fire type that had a bit more versatility when it came to items. So like fire type that I wouldn't have to like always bring heavy duty boots on it um, to avoid those rock damage, and because of that, um, because I wanted to avoid that, I just picked up Blaziken. Blaziken, since it's part fighting, does not take those 25% damage from rocks. Thankfully, because of that fighting typing. Um, and this mon is pretty decent in speed, 80 speed, so it makes it a prime candidate for like to be a choice scarf user. It has 120 base attack and 110 base special attack, and so it's pretty good attacker on both sides. So that's what I really like about it as well. That it hits pretty hard on both sides, and its defenses, although it's base 70 on both of them, that isn't too bad for an offensive mon, in my opinion. Um, so yeah, and as for moves, it does get access to agility, so could run agility over running choice scarf, which gives me +2 in speed, which is more than what choice scarf would do. Choice scarf would only give me +1 in speed. So yeah, this having the ability to use agility on it and run a different item other than choice scarf is really great. It has access to baton pass for although I can't pass speed. I can't pass stats with baton pass. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I can use baton pass as like just a switching out move, like a dry pass kind of situation. Um, but I could be wrong. I can't remember the rules off the top of my head. Another reason I got it was um, because of this move, defog. I actually didn't know it got defog. I think I've never used Blaziken before in Draft League. I know my brother used it once, and that was it. But that was like a long time ago in like Gen 6, and yeah, I didn't know it got this song. But when I saw this, I was like, oh, I'm definitely getting this now. So yeah, it gets defog. So um, I find that very helpful, because the fact that it doesn't take the 25% damage from rocks coming in, so I can defog without worrying about taking I damage from rocks that fire types would get or other common defoggers would get. Um, so yeah, basically defog just clears terrain and hazards on both sides. Like, it is a little annoying that it clears the hazards that I may set up on someone else's side. But getting rid of the hazards on my side is very helpful to my team, especially for my Kirim. Um, a few other things that I got. Yeah. Some of the moves are just pretty standard moves. It has some pretty good coverage and like knockoff to get rid of items. Poison jab to hit fairies and grass types and mons like that. Pretty good fighting coverage. High jump kick's a little annoying to use because you potentially miss and lose 50% of your health. But it is helpful. It does also get bulk up, so like if I want to run a more defensive set, or I just want to raise my attack and have bulk up as my way of being bulky, that is helpful. There's curse. If I want to run, if I don't really care about the speed in the situation, curse could come in handy, which is basically, it has the same effects as bulk up, except it lowers your speed by one stage every time you use it. It has earthquake, overheat if I run a special set, hidden power grass for those pesky water types, and I could run hidden power electric for water types as well, but probably find myself running hidden power grass because of water ground types that maybe coming against my Blaziken. Then yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to Blaziken. Has a pretty interesting moves and like mirror move, but that isn't really like common anymore. It was pretty common in Gen 7 to run like Z mirror move. I saw that a few times, Z mirror move, and like in the Ogres tier when I was playing that in Gen 7. But yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to Blaziken. So my next one, it's not a mon that I specifically like, but it fit the bill for what I needed. So I was looking for a sticky web user, and sticky web users are pretty rare in the current Gen 8 metagame. But considering we're playing National Decks, there's a bit more. There's not as many more, but it is a bit more than what is currently in Gen 8. So I tried to find one that I thought that no one would think about getting, and so I literally waited for this mon towards like closer to the very end of the draft, And so I picked up area dose. Um, Aridos has access to Swarm, Insomnia, and Sniper. Swarm just gives me a plus one in to all my buck type attacks if my HP is at 1/3 or less. Insomnia just prevents me from going to sleep, and Sniper gives me plus one damage to all my critical hits. So usually find myself running like Sniper on this with like a focus sash, if I can spell right. um, so yeah, its stats are pretty mediocre, to be honest. Um, some would say below mediocre, or trash, probably trash. But the focus sash helps with its poor defenses, and base 90 attack is pretty okay, to be honest. Um, I'm not gonna be hitting extremely hard with like base 90 attack, but it doesn't hurt. And so yeah, the main reason I got this was because of this move, sticky webs. Sticky webs. It sets up webs on my opponent's side, and every time my opponent has a mon that touches the ground, it'll lower their speed by 1. So yeah, this is what I wanted this mon for, which was sticky webs. It allows me to bring in mons like Kirim or Blaziken or Indeedee or Grimstall even, and be faster than my opponents because my opponent will be -1. So that's really helpful to Kirim because then I don't have to run something like Scale Shot to gain speed to outspeed him on, or I don't have to run Scarf on Kirim to outspeed him on. And the same with like Blaziken, I won't have to run Agility to outspeed him on, or run Scarf to outspeed something. And then same with Indeedee. Indeedee's like base 95 speed, so with like sticky webs, I don't really have to run speed if I don't want to, or maybe not as many speed EVs to outspeed something because I'll be able to outspeed them with the sticky web up. Another great reason I picked it up was because of its move pool. It has some pretty great moves. Some moves like Nightshade. Nightshade gives me steady damage. Considering that Gyarados is pretty weak hitting, Nightshade is pretty helpful because it does damage equal to the user's level. So pretty much it's always going to be doing 100 damage to my opponent every time that I use Nightshade. Unless they're a normal type. If they're a normal type, then Nightshade can't hit them. Yeah. It has access to Curse. Considering I'm a pretty slow mon at base 40 speed, Curse could be pretty helpful because it'll raise my attack and defense by 1 stage and lower my speed. And I don't really need the speed on every dose because of that base 40 speed stat. But so yeah, it can make my Gyarados hit a little harder and survive a few more hits. And then the great thing about the most recent changes in Gen 7 was that Leech Seed hits harder now. Not Leech Seed. Leech Life hits harder now. Leech Life, I believe, used to do like 20 base damage, and now it does base 80. So this gives me access to like recovering 50% of the damage that I deal, and doing pretty good damage with that 80 base power and that 90 attack that it has. It also has access to agility. If I want to try to outspeed a few things, I won't be outspeeding that many things with agility and my speed stat, but it could come in handy. It also gets access to Baton Pass, so I can like Dry Pass out to a Mon. has access to infestation if I want to um, trap something in, and what's it called, wear it down and potentially kill it with like toxic. Um, Another reason I got it as well was because it has access to toxic spikes. Toxic spikes is a great thing for my team because it gives me um, the first hazard setter on the team at the moment. Um, so yeah, um, toxic spikes are great because depending how many you set. So if you set, it sets a toxic spikes on your opponent's side. If you set up one spike, if a Pokemon that touches the ground that isn't a poison type or steel type, if they touch the ground with the toxic spikes, then they get poisoned, just a regular poison. But if I set up two and they touch the ground, they get toxic, which is great. So great for whittling down teams and allowing things like my Blaziken or Makiram to just clean up easier and get kills easier. Yeah. Another reason I picked it up was because of this move. Not many people know about this move because pretty much Gyarados is the only one that gets it, but picked it up because of this move right here, Toxic Thread. Toxic Thread is great because it lowers your target speed by 1 and it poisons it. So being able to slow your opponent down, poison them at the same time, that's just really cool in my opinion. And yeah, it gets access to Shadow Sneak, Sucker Punch, so it has priority. So it doesn't really have to worry about that low speed stat because of that priority. But yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to Gyarados. I'm hoping it does a lot for my team. It's not a mon that you usually see, so hopefully it puts in some work. So let's move on to the next one. I'm gonna have to make room for it. Alright, just give me a second. Okay, so the next mon is my Mega. When it came to my Mega, I wasn't really sure what I wanted, but a lot of the good ones had already gone, and so yeah, I wanted something that could put in the work, hit hard, and be fast. So I ended up going with Mega Aerodactyl. Mega Aerodactyl's great in my opinion. Before Mega Evolves, it has access to Rockhead, Pressure, Unnerve, and before Mega Evolves, I'll probably be running like Unnerve on it, maybe Rockhead if I wanna. I don't know. To be honest, Rockhead doesn't really help it considering its moves that it has, but so I'd probably just be running Unnerve to prevent someone from running berries to lower damage that they might take from my Aerodactyl. But when it does Mega Evolve, it gets Tough Claws. So Tough Claws, I won't tell you how much. It basically raises the damage of moves that make contact with your opponent. I can't remember off the top of my head by how much it multiplies it by, but it does multiply the damage output of moves that make contact. So yeah, the main reason I got it was because it hits hard with that 135 base attack, and it's super fast. It's tied for being one of the fastest mons there is with Alakazam, Mega Alakazam to be exact. They both hit 150 base speed. So nothing's really gonna be outspeeding me. So you usually find me running probably like adamant on my sets instead of jolly because I won't really have to worry about something outspeeding Mega Aerodactyl. Um, Probably only find me running jolly on this if I want to avoid being outsped by like a choice scarfer that could potentially outspeed a adamant um, Aerodactyl. Um, but yeah, it has some pretty great moves. So, a lot of its moves that you'd want to use, like Stone Edge, for example, um, or Aquatail, or for example, like Fire Fang. Um, they don't have 100% accuracy, but the great thing about this mon is that it gets access to Home Claws. Um, Home Claws raises your attack and accuracy by one stage. So by raising your accuracy by one stage, these moves like Stone Edge, Aqua Tail, and Fire Fang, they all become 100% accuracy after that Hone Edge. And since you're getting that +1 in attack from Hone Edge, they hit even harder now, which is really great. I also got this mon because it's probably not going to be my defog mon of choice to use, but in situations that I want to, I could bring defog, get rid of hazards, and I also picked up this mon because it gives me access to stealth rocks. Having the ability to have a fast stealth rocker is pretty great. Yeah, stealth rocks will make it easier for me to get KOs by chipping down the teams that I'm going up against. Just making it overall for easier for mons like Kiram and Blaziken and Mega Aerodactyl especially to get kills. So yeah. It's also really great that with the speed it has of 150, because if I do go up against a team that has no way of absolute no way of outspeeding Aerodactyl, then I could potentially run something like, let's say, max attack adamant on Aerodactyl, and let's say I don't have to run any speed stats at all for whatever reason because my opponent's team is super slow, so I wouldn't have to run any speed stats at all, and going up against a team that has is very heavy special attackers. I could run max special defense in it, or I could run max HP on it if I want. This allows my Mega Aerodactyl to be a bit more bulky than it otherwise would be, and allow me to take more hits and deal more damage without worrying about Aerodactyl dying so easily. So yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to Mega Aerodactyl. It's a great mon, fast, hits hard. I'm looking forward to use it, especially since I haven't used it ever since like 2015 when I first started playing Draft League. It's the first Mega that I ever drafted in a Draft League, and it was pretty solid for me back then. So I'm hoping that this time around, now that I know a lot more about Draft League, that I use it a lot better this time around. So yeah, so the next mon that I got was Aegislash. So Aegislash. This is a mon that I want to use for a long time, but in a lot of leagues it was banned before because a lot of people found it to be a bit too much for
for the league to handle. Um, but luckily, in pretty much all Gen 8 leagues that I've been in so far, um, Aegis Slash has been allowed. Um, and I finally decided to pick it up. Um, so I picked up Aegis Slash because I wanted a steel type that wasn't weak to fighting type moves. And that was important to me because of having Kirim on my team, having Grim Snow, having DD on my team, um, those three Mons, oh, and Aerodactyl as well. Those four Mons all take either super effective damage or neutral damage from fighting type moves. So that's a little bit worrisome for me. Um, so I needed Mons to cover up that fighting weakness, and I feel like I covered up pretty well with Aegis Slash and Aridos and my final Mon in the draft that I picked. So that fighting weakness is covered up pretty okay, in my opinion. Um, but yeah, Aegis Slash has this ability, stance change. So whenever you attack with Aegis Slash, it changes forms, or if you use a move like Protect, um, or in this case for Aegis Slash, its special move King Shield. If you use these moves, it'll change its form to a shield, which is currently at. But if you use, let's say Flash Cannon, you'll change into the sword form, which is the offensive form, and its forms. Whenever you change its forms, it changes its stats. Let's see if I can get here. Aegis Slash Blade form. Um, so this is a shield form, and its stats are more defensive in nature, which makes sense because it's a shield. Shields are supposed to be protective. Um, so its defenses are 140 on both sides. Um, but when you use a move, it switches those, and it switches those that 140 stat over to its attack and special attack. Um, so it does big damage. Um, its speed is okay at 60, but with webs from Aridos, um, couldn't it makes it a bit easier for it to outspeed Mons. It does have access to autotomize if I want to raise my speed without and outspeed things without the help of sticky webs. Um, and then oh, and then this gen, one of the moves it got that's pretty helpful is close combat. Um, close combat is pretty helpful in general, in my opinion, for it because it can hit steel types, it can hit dark types now without having to use uh, things like brick break that might not do enough damage. Yeah, it just hits harder in general, and honestly, probably don't have to worry about the defense drops at all, really, because you could run because I could run King Shield. Um, King Shield is pretty much just protect, but with an added effect. So if they make contact with you while you're using King Shield, it'll lower their attack by 1. So if I can get a close combat off and then use King Shield on a mon that's physical, I'm pretty much negating that -1 defense that I get from close combat because it'll lower their attack and put them neutral with me. Yeah, it has some pretty good coverage, gyro ball. If I want to run a slow set and hit for massive damage for against something that's really fast. Destiny Bond if I want to take down a mon with me. Um, there's Steel Beam if I want to be bold and try to take something out with Steel Beam. The only downside to it is I lose 50% of my health if I use it. It has sword stance for setup on the physical side, and sacred sword to hit opponents that may be setting up their defenses. The great thing about sacred sword is that it ignores any stat changes. So even if someone's at like +2, +4 defense, I'll still be hitting them for regular damage instead of because I'm ignoring that stat change in defense. But yeah, Aegis Slash is pretty great overall. It gets Magnerized to avoid the ground type moves that it's weak to. You get Solar Blade if I go up against ground types that I otherwise wouldn't really be able to hit that strong. If I use like something like Solar Blade, Power Herb, then it turns a move. That Power Herb turns a move like Solar Blade that's a 2-turn move into a 1-turn move, and allow me to get a big hit off on a ground type that I probably wouldn't be able to do as much damage as I would with my steel or ghost type moves. Yeah, so the typing as well on Aegis Slash is really great because Ghost overall is a great defensive typing to have, and it's also a great offensive typing to have, in my opinion. And Steel type as well. Steel type is very defensive and physically offensive typing for the most part. It's the most defensive typing that you could get. So yeah, pretty helpful to have a mon that can hit hard and take hits like Aegis Slash. So now moving on to my next mon. My next mon is Rotamo. So Rotamo, I've found myself using Rotamo a lot as of recently. It's a really great mon. It's one of the few electric types that are immune to ground type moves, and considering electric types are only weak to ground type moves, that's extremely helpful. It's one less weakness that I don't have to worry about. And then being a grass typing, although grass types have a lot of weaknesses, for the purpose that I needed, it's pretty helpful because I feel like on every team you should have a grass type to fulfill and it helps you fulfill a fire, water, grass core on your team, which is pretty helpful. But yeah, Ronomo, he's a great Soul Vest user. He's a great Choice Scarfer, Choice Spec user, Life Orb user, Leftover user. If I want to run a more bulky set, I could run like Rocky Helmet on it to chip down mons that might hit me on the physical side. I could run berries like citrus or Aguav, although Aguav in this generation got screwed over. It's still pretty helpful, I guess. So yeah, moving on to its moves. Picked it up because all the Rotom forms have access to defog, and like I said before, defog gets rid of hazards on both sides, so that's pretty helpful. And it also got a really great move to have, even though its attack is like meh. If I'm really feeling bold, I could run Poltergeist that has a pretty high power at 110. The only downside is that my opponent has to have an item on it. But for the most part, you usually find me running a special attacking set on Rotop. Something like Defog, Discharge, or Thunderbolt. I usually run Discharge because I like the added effect of paralyzing an opponent. Leaf Storm for stab. Um, that's also another downside about Rotom-Mow is that pretty much the only grass type move that you can use other than Hidden Power Grass is Leaf Storm. And Leaf Storm lowers your special attack by 2 stages. So once you use Leaf Storm, uh, the next Leaf Storm isn't gonna hit as hard. So you usually find yourself using like Leaf Storm and Volt Switch to get out because you don't want another mon coming in for free and setting up on you because your moves don't hit as hard anymore because of that Leaf Storm. So Volt Switch, it has access to Volt Switch, which is really great as well. Just being able to hit something and get out of there. And it's not that fast. It's fast, but it's like a decent speed stat, which is the reason it makes it a great choice scarf user. But yeah, having that speed set and volt switch isn't that bad. Like you won't be getting slow volt switches off a lot of the times, but sometimes you might, and that could come in handy. It also gets access to foul play, stop people from setting up on you with foul play, since it'll do more damage if the opponent's attack is raised by like sword stance or belly drum, stuff like that raises your opponent's attack. It also has access to screens if I want to run like screens Rotom with the light clay to make it last longer. It has paint split to heal itself. Access to trick. Access to Will-O-Wisp, burn stuff. There's access to Sucker Punch if I want to get some priority moves off. Nasty Plot if I want to set up and sweep potentially. It also has access to Rising Voltage, which is a new move that if into electric terrain gets powered, and although it doesn't power up with Rotom because Rotom doesn't touch the ground, it still could get the electric terrain boost from it, that damage boost that it would get because it's an electric type move. If my opponent has an electric terrain setter, that is. But yeah, it does get access to this move right here, Disarming Voice. Not many people that use Rotom would want to use Disarming Voice because of its 40 base power, but for me, I like using like different types of variety of moves, and I've used Disarming Voice on Rotom a few times. It's pretty fun to catch a fighting type or dark type that thinks that they're safe, and I smack them with the Disarming Voice. I know Disarming Voice isn't going to do much to them, but it still prevents me from being like useless against it if I want to run it. But yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to Rotom. Its main purpose for me is going to be being a defogger and being annoying with like Discharge and Hex and Leaf Storms. Okay, now moving on to my second to last one, which is Quagsire. So originally in this spot, I believe I'm trying to remember which mon I had. Oh, I had Mudstale for a ground type. So I was looking for a ground type and I had got Mudstale at first because it gives me rocks and it's pretty good assault vest user. Um, Give it leftovers and has access to stealth rocks and hits pretty hard. And its ability stamina raises your defense every time you get hit, whether it's on the physical or special side. Your defense stat gets raised. Um, but I ended up changing it to Quagsire because, well, I noticed that I wasn't gonna have a mon that could easily switch into rock type moves like Stone Edge, and my team was kind of weak to Stone Edge. It didn't really have like something that like easily switched into moves like Stone Edge. Um, I kind of had to rely on either Mudstill or Aegis Slash to take a hit. So I decided to change it because um, Mudstill doesn't have access to recovery other than rest, and I wanted a mon that could take Stone Edges and also recover that damage back. So I ended up changing it to Quagsire. And the great thing about Quagsire on this team is that it doesn't really have to worry about that quad weakness to grass that it has because for the most part my team isn't really weak to grass types. If anything, I like heavily resist it. Um, so I ended up just changing it to Quagsire, changing Mudstill to Quagsire. The great thing about Quagsire that has access to this ability right here, unaware. So having this ability, um, nothing, absolutely nothing can set up on me because I'll just automatically ignore their stat changes because of unaware. So a mon could be in front of Quagsire, setting up to like +6 attack. It won't matter. It's still gonna do neutral damage because of unaware. Quagsire doesn't care if you set up on his phase all the way to +6 on every single stat. Like he don't give a shit. Um, and it's pretty bulky. Like on paper, it doesn't look bulky, but in use in like an actual battle, he's actually pretty bulky. Um, so yeah, um, usually like for an item, you'll be running like leftovers on it, or if you're worried about grass type moves, you'll run something like Rendo Berry to reduce the damage. And as far as moves, you'll be running like Scald, um, Earth Power, or Earthquake. Probably Earth Power though. Um, Actually, not Earth Power. What am I saying? You probably run Earthquake because um, attack's a little better than the special attack. The only reason that you'd want to run Scald over a physical water type move is because Scald gives you that 30% chance to burn your target, which is pretty big, um, especially since burning your opponent make it easier for Quagsire to wall them. And then another move that you'll usually be running on Quagsire is like Ice Punch or Ice Beam. Ice Punch just does more though because of the attack stat. And then for recovery, you'll use the move Recover, which is great because Recover gives you 50% of your maximum health back. Um, so yeah, that's the main reason I decided to switch Mudstill to Quagsire because the fact that it has access to this move Recover, and the fact that um, my team isn't really weak to grass types, so Quagsire doesn't really have to worry about being about grass types coming because most of the time grass types will find it hard to find any use other than for stopping Quagsire, which it won't easily be able to do because I have mons like Kieran Black, Blaziken, Ariados, Egg Slash, Rotomo that all resist the grass type moves. Um, And the only mon that's actually weak to grass type moves on this team would be Vaporeon and Quagsire. That's it. That's literally it. And Aerodactyl that takes neutral damage, but that's pretty much it. But yeah, typically Quagsire is just used for to be annoying and stall people out with like toxic recover on it, um, skull to burn them, um, acid spray if you want to lower their special defense. Some pretty good coverage overall. Sludge bomb, sludge wave, acid spray all hit grass types that annoy and destroy Quagsire, so having access to those poison type moves is pretty helpful. Um, the ice type moves are pretty helpful as well for the grass types. It just depends what you need it for. If you need that, if you need ice coverage or poison coverage to stop grass types. Yeah, yeah, it just depends the coverage that you need it for, because that ice type move could help you for something else like another ground type or a dragon type or a flying type. That and the poison type move could help you for other than the grass types. It could help you against fairy types. Um, there, and then moving to my last mon. A buddy of mine named Chris would actually call this his favorite Pokemon. um, it's Aromatisse, which I don't know if you got that, but I was just trying to be a little sarcastic. It's not actually his favorite Mon. The dude hates it. He despises the Mon. Um, but for me, I love this Mon. This Mon is super underrated in my opinion. So many people throw it under the bus just because of its design. Don't even give it a chance. Don't even want to look at it. Just talk shit about it without like actually giving the Mon itself a chance. Um, I found pretty good success with this Mon, and uh, well, I have a pretty good nickname for it. I call it the Pink Menace because every time I use it against Chris, I annoy the shit out of him with it. This Mon is bulky, bulky as fuck, and it has um, um, it has a 99 base special attack, which is pretty good. It's pretty respectable. It's not something that you want to sleep on either. So the fact that I'm bulky and I can hit pretty hard is great, and its ability Aroma View prevents me from being attracted, disabled, encored, heal blocked, taunt, or tormented. So pretty much, I'm guaranteed to get wish off, no matter what. No matter what you do, I can get my wish off 100% of the times. Um, Unless something's faster than me and has the ability to kill me, obviously. Um, so yeah, uh, that's the main reason I got it was for the wish, and also because it gives me another mon that isn't weak to fighting type moves. It resists fighting type moves because of the fairy typing, and fairy typing overall is a great typing to have. So I wasn't worried about having two fairy types on the team, especially since this fairy type doesn't have to worry about being weak to fairies itself, like Grimmsnarl. Um, but yeah, it's also pretty great because um, I probably wouldn't have gotten it if it was just a regular Gen 8 draft league. But since it's national decks, I picked it up because it gives me access to Hidden Power Fire again that I wouldn't have access to in a regular Gen 8 draft league, because Hidden Power doesn't exist in Gen 8. And Aromatisse kind of got shafted in the fact that they didn't give it Mystical Fire, So, um, without mystical fire and without hitting power fire, it has no way of hitting steel types other than like drain punch. But you won't really be running drain punch on an aromatisse because its attack is shit, to be blunt. Um, so yeah, having access to hidden power fire is really great because um, now it can actually hit steel types, and they can't come in on aromatisse for free anymore because um, that hidden power fire. Um, Also, the great thing about it is that it doesn't necessarily have to come every week as a bulky wall because it does have access to a nasty plot. And another great thing is that since my team isn't the fastest team out there, um, and I might not be able to bring Ariados every week for webs, um, I do have aromatisse and Indeedee, um, and I can't remember who else. I think those are the only two that I have that get Trick Room. But Aromatisse does get Trick Room. So, um, in situations where I'm usually gonna be that I might be slow, I could run Trick Room on Aromatisse to pretty much make it so that the slowest mons on the field go first instead of last. Um, and I could run something like Nasty Plot, Trick Room, Nasty Plot raises my special attack 2 stages, and having a special attack stat of base 99 is pretty good to pair up with Nasty Plot and allow me to do big damage to my opponents. Um, so yeah, can't wait to use this mod. um, a lot. Adam, a buddy of mine from the league, um, said my team is trash because I picked this up. Well, um, can't wait to stall someone out with this shit because she's coming for you guys. She's coming for them. The Pink Menace is back. I haven't used it in so long, and I can't wait to use it. But yeah, that's it for my team. I hope you liked the video, and again, I like to apologize for my voice being a little bit raspy. Starting to get sick. The weather's like all over the place. Some days it's sunny, some days it's rainy and cloudy, and I don't know. I think just the shift in weather is getting me sick somehow. Uh, but yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.